Hey everyone. Today I'm going to be speaking to Mike Sullivan, guitarist in Russian Circles. Um, yeah, and I'm really excited about this one. So we'll just wait for him to jump on. Here we go. One moment.
Hey,
Hey, nice. We're in
booked my
business here.
heads. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, super quick technology and all that.
Yeah, impressive. It's absolutely turn you up a little bit.
Um, what's that? Yeah,
Get situated. Nice. How you doing, lady?
yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Just adjusting to the new normal of what life is. But
Oh,
all is well
yeah,
though. Can't complain.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's just like it's such a weird thing. Hey, like it's just weird. I don't know what the new normal will be or like the after normal.
people need to settle in. This is going to be like this for a minute. So
Oh yeah,
uh,
because yeah, definitely.
things are going to be cool eventually. But everybody needs to chill out for a while and ride the storm, and we'll be good.
Yeah,
But yeah, I encourage everyone to just, I don't know, buckle down the hatches, be creative, and respect one another, and embrace it for what it is. And just eventually, everything's going to be cool. But right now, it's a little gnarly.
yeah,
But
yeah. It's just like just chill.
everybody needs to calm down. But
Yeah, everyone's getting very like antsy. It's daytime here and it's a bit cold, so I'm all hoodied up.
oh yeah, layer up.
Um, yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Obviously, it's awesome to see your face again. Um, and yeah, hopefully this thing finishes soon so you can come back.
Oh right, yeah. Who
Come
knows?
on.
I feel like it's not going to be until there's a vaccine, until concerts are properly happening, where people aren't
Yeah,
come to shows and all that. But I'm optimistic about it happening. It'd be a first for coronavirus, but there's
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
all across the world. So, but yeah, we're if I miss touring now, I can't imagine 6 to 12 months from now we'll be chomping at the bit to get out there, and
Oh yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
world's going to be out there touring. So it's going to be,
It's going to be hectic.
yeah,
Just
everyone's going
saying
to,
that everyone's going to be on top of each other. So it's going to be like everyone going nuts,
yeah,
like
crazy,
going show after show after show after show,
yeah, exactly.
as well. Because I was talking to some like music industry people here, and it's like likely to be like mid next year for international for Australia.
Okay, that's doable.
Yeah,
I mean,
because we're like we don't want to let anyone in.
right? Oh yeah, we're
Like,
not going anywhere at this rate, so we're not
yeah,
going to go to anyone's country at this point. But for musicians, we have the luxury of being creative and doing what we need to do. It's the clubs and the booking agents and everybody else who I hope can weather the storm and get through it, because it's going to be tough for some parts of the
yeah,
industry. So
yeah. At least you can like a lot of the musicians I've spoken to, they can just get down, be creative, work on new music, like and practice and do all that kind of stuff, like and take that time where they're not actually on tour for once,
right,
to just like chill. So
yeah, no distractions. Usually you're knee deep in writing, and then you're taken off for tour for X amount of weeks or months, and then you're home for 2 weeks, then gone again. So it's tough
yeah,
to get to the creative zone. But now it's like, well, settle in. This is time to
yes, perfect time
get
to do it.
out.
Um, yeah. So I was gonna say, like Russian Circus started in 2004,
Yeah.
and you kind of came like your first like I guess foray into music was metal and like Faith No More and like all this kind of stuff. Before you moved into um, punk, hardcore, or whatnot, which I find really interesting because everyone I've spoken to who's in like, you know, post rock, post punk, or like doom kind of music, they all come from a hardcore or a punk background or metal background, and now they play, you know, instrumental just, or like, you know, whatever. Like, how did that influence you, um, musically, I guess, and like in your direction, like heading where you ended
Sure.
up in, like, well, Dakota, and then of course to Russian Circles.
Yeah, I mean, my personal journey was always hard rock, loud, heavy music, you know, like
Mhm.
that was metal out of the gate from being, 7, 8, 10 years old, metal, Metallica, Pantera, heavier. And then
Yeah,
it wasn't until I got into Fugazi and Shellac and that changed everything. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
what is this? Why so dis I couldn't understand what's going on. And that was a different,
yeah.
and that introduced me to the DIY world, the independent music community, and
Mhm.
why it's not cool to be part of a label or a major label.
Yeah, major label, yeah.
Cool things
And
happening with
then
the community of underground artists, and like that, if you felt part of the community, and that was a game changer for me as far as my musical path and what I was gravitating towards. So from that point on, it was like always like Fugazi and Shellac were like the pillars for me. And then
yeah.
it took a while till I was back into like heavy stuff, because I was, the more obscure and the more down a rabbit hole, the more I was into it.
Yeah, yeah.
I liked really weird stuff, but it wasn't until like the early 2000s where I started getting back into like heavy stuff. So
Like what? What was
uh,
it? Like,
well, I guess I always liked bands like the Fucking Champs, who always had that metal current to them. But
mhm.
to be honest, it wasn't until like seeing Mastodon early on, like in their career, where
Yeah,
I miss riffing. I miss these like bludgeoning.
yeah, hard,
And
yeah,
there's other elements of that in what I listened to, but that helped reintroduce me to my roots and what I grew up on. And just like, I mean,
yeah,
Metallica was always there, Pantera, these bands are always there. But
yeah,
I kind of stopped looking down on anybody in a major, and just like, we all come from Led Zeppelin, Sabbath, Cream, all that stuff. It's like, if you
yeah, yeah,
boil it down, that's where a lot of the aggressive guitar stuff comes from.
yeah,
So um, it was good to go down that world of like holier than thou as far as what I'm into,
yeah,
avant whatever, and
yeah, yeah,
um, a lot of instrumental music, because that was very free and experimental, and you can do whatever you want. There's no structure.
yeah,
There's long maneuver because there's no judgment. So it's very free. But I missed having structure. I missed having uh, intense riffs that would like bring
yeah.
you.
Heavy riffage.
Something grounding about heavy metal, that, or heavy music in general, not just metal. That the repetitive
Yeah,
that I missed. I got too washed up in being too technical, and I lost the
like
nuance.
that whole, like kind of almost the mathematical.
And who cares? That's not music for everybody. That's music for nerds. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh, that's just you're casting a small net, and it's not as pleasurable. I feel like it was fun
yeah,
time, but it's very self-serving. And
yeah,
zoom out and just look at the themes, more like classical music. You look at a theme, and how does that theme unfold into the next theme? And
yeah.
that's what. And Dave was really cool about that. We started the band about like, what catches your ear. Let's find something that catches, like there's a hook. You can sink your teeth,
Mhm.
and then so just simplify. So Dave was really cool to help me kind of pursue that when writing. And we've always kept that kind of like blueprint as far as not overthinking things and like stepping back. It's easy to add more notes and add more, but we really try to show restraint, for better, for
Yeah,
worse, not overdoing,
yeah,
stepping back. Like, should we do it again? Yeah, do it again. Just let it happen again. That's fine.
yeah, yeah.
So, um, and that's, you learn from each cycle of doing that. But and I guarantee each question I'm going to answer this long, so you have time for like 2 more questions.
Yeah, oh yeah. Don't worry, King Dude he killed me. He had me here for 4 hours.
Okay, good.
So it's fine.
Yep. So, but yeah. So a big part of it was the thematic element of of rock and metal. I missed that when I got into the experimental stuff. I missed just having something that was fist pumping. Like that's a hook. Okay, got it. You know.
Yeah, like something you can grab onto, like.
Yeah, something that's more accessible for people. You know, not in a commercial way, but just in like a pleasing way. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and like like with Mastodon, I mean, I've seen them quite a lot of times, and it's like you get like you get like really into it because
Yeah.
of the heavy riffs. Then you're like, I've been fortunate enough because I'm friends with Troy's brother who does a lot of it. He's their like tour manager type person. So I've been lucky enough to stand side
Oh, right.
stage or whatever and watch it like from behind or the side. So like, and that's even more amazing. Like just because you see all the intricate parts and stuff as they're playing, and
Yeah.
you get to watch the crowd's reaction, which is
Right.
so good.
There's something different about them, even though they came from a hardcore background. I
Mm.
was a hardcore kid. I appreciated hardcore bands. I still listen to it, you know, here and
Yeah,
there. And but I never like felt like that was my scene, you know. So
yeah,
there's something about when because metal wasn't as cool for a while, like as far as get.
yeah,
I mean, I hate to say it, but like in the you know, hardcore kind of took over, and there are a lot of great hardcore bands happening. But there's something about metal I found more appealing than just strictly hardcore. But I think
yeah,
hardcore always kept the independent spirit, which is awesome. So there's a through line with hardcore that
yeah,
hardcore never blew up and got oversaturated, which is cool.
yeah, yeah. But it was also like very hardcore was very like almost very rigid. Like it was
Right, right.
very it
Yeah,
had an exact formula. So like every different band almost was the same, but like different lyrics, different, and breakdowns and like, you'd
very,
have like
yeah.
very similar, like, because I came from I used to go to like I was a bit of a hardcore kid and used to go to shows a lot and yeah, and then I'm like kind of drifted out of that a bit and then but I still listen to some like but then I went towards that like post-punk experimental a bit more like crazy side and metal but yeah the old hardcore there's still a few that I like
I was just
that
snap case counts, but there's some records I throw on. I'm like, yes, that is great, you know. And Riff
yeah
was a game changer for everybody, no matter what genre you came from. The
yeah
shit
yeah
they nailed it. Like that was like a prophetic name, you know. So
yeah
that in that showed hardcore can be experimental and different and incorporate all types of other elements and be groundbreaking.
into it yeah
And that's a timeless record. It came out and it was mind blowing, and to this day, that's still a mind blowing record. But there's cool
yeah
right now with hardcore, you know, that's cool to me to see. Like, oh wow, they're still super
they're
interesting.
still it's like it's kind of taken a back seat and it's gone back under I think like it's more underground again
Yeah, yeah. I wish like a band like Power Trip existed when I was younger. Like
yeah yeah
there was thrash. Thrash had died off for a while. I mean,
yeah
that's not true. I was ignorant to what was happening in the thrash world, I suppose. But something that like scratched the itch in the hardcore community that was metal, but was also cool, you know. So and
yeah yeah
choose from now, genre wise, but you know that's what it was cool to go through phases and fully immerse yourself and like this is what I'm into, nothing else, just this. Because
yeah
then you understand how everything works. Then you go into the next phase and you dissect that, take it apart, and learn everything. And after a while, if you go through each genre, you can kind of assemble all of that knowledge into your own music.
do you yeah definitely I think like I mean I listened to like when I was 18 I used to go to like crust metal shows and like speed metal and like
Sure.
all sorts of crazy metal
Right.
like and so it was like whoa like it was really like full on and then from there it was like went into the hardcore then moved along and then but I was always the same Metallica. I was listening to Metallica when I was a little kid. It was just like you can't beat it like
Metallica is
you
kind of
know
a little bit, you know, where it's everybody can identify with that, where it's like, oh,
yeah yeah it's just some of it's the riffage and that that comes from it like that you can't it's hard to not react
Yeah,
when
exactly.
you've got when Metallica comes on, you know what I mean? Especially when you listen to like Master of Puppets and stuff, like, and you just like, it's adrenaline pumping and that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, and so yeah, I was gonna, you kind of went through all those like phases, and then of course you had Dakota, and then like what kind of like is the evolution between like from that kind of gap, like from Dakota to then Russian Circles?
Sure. For those who aren't familiar with Dakota, it was a band prior to Russian
Am I
Circle.
being a nerd?
Oh, no, that's all good. It was a while ago. So that was also a three-piece instrumental band,
Mm.
and Chicago had a really rich scene of instrumental music, of experimental stuff going around at the time. Um, Colin, who joined Russian Circles initially, and
Yeah,
he was a member of Dakota also. So we both kind
yeah,
of regrouped, with the Russian Circles. But Dakota was very, like I kind of mentioned earlier, really notey. Just so much going on, so much information,
yeah,
and so starting a new band, you want to start a new, like, make a difference as far as why did that band end and why is this new band, like,
beginning, yeah,
yeah, well, yeah, make a point, So Dave and I, we didn't overly discuss it, but when Dave and I first jammed, our first practice ever, we wrote the song Carpe, like the first song on our first record, Enter, and
yeah,
I helped lay the first like foundation of like, okay, so this is how we're gonna write. Interesting, and
hmm,
not that we can't change it or haven't changed it.
yeah,
Um, but it was something that was really exciting at that first time Dave and I jammed. Like, oh, this is something different. It feels exciting. There's something in here that I want to keep pursuing. So
yeah.
different musicians have different chemistry, and Dave and I have a cool chemistry that
But you
works.
guys are childhood friends, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So yeah, I thought
yeah.
that was super cute. I
The
was like,
band
oh,
played in the high school, and that was like we were both like, oh, it's just it was not our main love. It was fun. It's fun to do. We weren't writing the music. It's like, let's do
yeah, yeah,
stuff. Like, let's do really out there stuff compared to just like down the middle kind of rock.
yeah,
So it was fun. It was a stepping stone, and yeah, but it's fun to start something totally new with Dave. That
yeah,
we're not joining the band together. We're starting our own thing with them.
yeah. Just bringing it together, yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, that must be also having that amazing like connection where you were childhood friends as well, and then
Yeah,
being
yeah.
able to
There's,
start that. It's like so, yeah, like it's such a good like foundation to build off as well.
yeah.
Like
No, like
so do you,
awkwardness. It was like, cool, let's just have fun. The whole thing was like, let's have fun and see what happens, and
yeah, yeah,
so well that was like, cool, let's keep this going. And Dave moved up to Chicago from St. Louis, where he was at the
mhm,
time, and we just played every day, just drank coffee and jammed every day. That was kind
yeah,
of the MO for a while.
yeah, yeah. So it's sort of just you two trying to figure out like what this kind of
Yeah,
mechanics of
we
the
got old eventually, but the first practice, that was just like very crucial as far as, again, just finding our voice, because there was no riffs written prior to that first practice. I went down to St. Louis to jam with him for the first time, and it was just fun to go down there. My parents are down there and I have friends down there, and it'd be fun to see Dave. So there was zero expectations. If it works out, great. If not, well, maybe we'll jam again, and who knows.
yeah,
But so it was so casual that it was. I'm grateful now looking back that it was so casual. It wasn't like, I hope this goes really well. I hope
yeah, like a real, yeah,
it was. And
pressure.
comfort was key to everything's kind of flowing without second thought. Trust.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think you can hear that in you, like it comes through in like your releases, and it especially comes through live. That there's that like just this continuity and this like and like um I guess like with your when you how this is like I was talking about this with the guys from Earthless. Um when you guys are playing live, is it for you guys that like a more of a practice, because Dave does this specific thing or blah blah, or is it a body language thing, like, or when you guys play? Because when you don't have a lot of or any lyrics, you kind of I watch in awe when I watch instrumental bands, because I'm like, I have a bad memory as it is, and I like, when I know that line's coming, I'm like, yeah, here we go. And then like when it's not there, it's like really amazing to watch like musicians do that, and and figure out like how they know when they're doing what.
It's a very mechanical process for us. We're not as much fluidity as there is to the music. It's intentionally stripped down again, so it's very procedural. So each part will change slowly. Like Dave may change, but I won't, or the bass line, but Dave won't, or I won't. So it's just like an unfolding process. So it's not. We do change together, of course, at times, but there's not improvisation live. We know what we're doing, and there's with the loops that happen live with the guitar parts that are looped, that adds to the mechanical feeling of it. So it's like, this is locked in, for better or for worse. That's what we're playing to that time.
What we're playing, yeah. I was given strict instructions.
It's not listening, but it's not. It's we don't think a whole lot. The whole point of playing live for us, and I think most bands, is to not think about it. The minute you think about it,
yeah,
you're not in a good spot. It's like meditation. You're supposed to be not thinking, and of course.
Yeah. Just going with it. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm under strict instruction to ask you two specific nerdo questions.
Okay, sure.
So one of them is like, aside from your because you've obviously done videos and things talking about like your playing and loops and that kind of thing, and so Bridget wants to know, like, aside from your tips on tone and volume variance and layering, what practice tips do you have to get master loops in time to set up to support the rest of the song?
One of the most efficient ways to tighten everything up is to play with somebody else. So you're not just by yourself trying it again. If you're accountable for a song crumbling, that if other people on the get it together, that kind of forces you to be on it, because someone's going to be like, hey, like, we need to keep this train rolling here. So there's something about that where you kind of learn, you fall into place quickly, because things aren't going to work out. If you keep blowing a loop, that's going to be a problem. And also, not all loop pedals are the same. There's some that look great on paper, I'll check them out, but they're absolute mess for using live, because a lot of loops don't work out. You need to erase them and re-record them as soon as possible. And when you have to hold that erase button for 2 seconds, that seems like hours and hours on stage, especially live.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. I'm clearing my loop. Like, that's the most boring thing. Like, you want to be able to, so being totally familiar with their gear, whether it be a loop pedal or your acoustic guitar, whatever it may be, the more comfortable you are with it, the less there's a disconnect between your brain and the execution, the expression, I should say. So it's just a tool, looping, but it should be very seamless. So whatever you can do to make it less difficult on yourself, the more effective it will be, I suppose.
Yeah. And she wanted to know, like, how do you also like ensure that the drummer can hear the loop, that so that they need to play in time to it. You know what I mean?
Sure. In Dave's case, he would get in his monitor, his drum wedge, he'd get just guitar blasted to his detriment. Like, just, it's tough, because if the drummer can't hear the loop, that's a nightmare. So if you're in a practice space and just playing, or wherever garage, wherever you may be, you need to be at adequate volume and positioned accordingly so everybody can hear each other. Because that's how bands should operate, because listening is just as important as playing. But what you hear on stage is so different than front of house. If people heard our monitor mixes, they would never come to our shows. It's happening in there. Dave is now on in-ear monitors, which helps, and just blasted from his left ears get punished with guitar, and I wouldn't want to hear my guitar that loud, at all.
Yeah.
Suffering that. So a big part is listening. If I set a loop and it's a little bit off, or I do it a little bit different with a different nuance, Dave has to be hip to that and work around it. So if it has to be, that's why it's really important to make sure your loops are very defined and they're not muddy. Like half the battle for me is to find a non-muddy guitar tone where the loops can cut. If you have several distorted guitars, it can become a mud fest in no time. So if I can't hear it, God knows the shitty rock club PA that the drummer's dealing with is probably garbage in most cases, and definitely different. Or one of the speakers is blown or something, or maybe it's amazing, or maybe it's too loud and you can't find the monitor engineer. He's out drinking a beer somewhere. So my goal is to help as much as possible, and just through communication. Like, is this, like, he tells me like, hey, I can't hear that. That sounds muddy. And it breaks my heart for like 1 second. I'm like, cool, I'll work on that. And good to know, try to fix that, So it was a lot of shows that were a mess with Dave having trouble hearing me sometimes. And that's what it took for make sure the drummer could hear what I was up to.
What you're doing, yeah. Because when you see you guys live, like, it's very, you can see everybody's like very concentrated on like what they're doing. Like, Dave's always like blasting away like hard, you know what I mean? And I'm always like, how is he? He's just head down, blah 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 blah. Sure. And then you're like a riff wizard, just like all over the place. And and then you see the bass player who's quite steady, but like, he's just like there chilling. But then you got you like, and like it's just like, so like you said, methodical. You can see that everyone's got like their piece.
Yeah,
like
cogs in a wheel. Like there's different cogs happening to move a bigger wheel, and the bigger wheel is the actual live sound itself. So everyone's doing their own thing, and collectively it produces this whole other movement that's depends upon the smaller things happening individually. But and Earthless, Earthless is one of the best live bands ever, and they seem very brilliant. Yeah. But imagine Isaiah is thinking anything other than like, he is checked out. I imagine. I didn't hear what he said to that. But imagine Isaiah letting it flow like a river, going a downstream.
He goes into like another dimension. That guy. He like, I was saying to I spoke to Mario. I think Mario was yesterday, and we were laughing about Isaiah, how he does go into like another dimension, and like often, not so much this past like maybe 6 months, but like every show I've ever like been there with the guys, he's the person who just takes whatever's given to him. So it'll be like, oh, acid, thank you. Oh, mushrooms, thank you. And he'll take it all before he goes on stage. And like he'll be like totally munted, and then he will start playing as soon as the like it's ready and he goes. It's like he's just gone, and it's like none of the drugs affect him. Like as soon as he hits like the guitar, like. He just like, he goes into this completely other dimension. And even when I've seen him and he hasn't taken much of anything, it's the same thing. Like, because I always give him shit because like he makes the most insane faces when he plays. I don't know if you've noticed that. But I'm always like, sometimes you look like you're about to like blow or something, dude. Like, because he's like in heaven, you know what I mean? And but he's phenomenal. Like, Mario was saying, he was like when they got introduced, he was introduced as like a, this kid is like a prodigy who goes and like plays like concerts in front of people and like plays Hendrix and like all this stuff like in front of people. So like when he was a kid, he was just like next level. So he just gets better and better. But they're more like they have their little like they have their practices and things, but they're more like rather than coggy, they're very like play off each other, and like I said, they use the body language and the like, you know, and they often just like will laugh or do something like that, and then the other person knows what they're doing.
Okay,
So
cool.
they're much more like chill, like in that respect. Like, but a lot of the times it's the quiet, like we call him, you know, silent but deadly. It's Mike who's on bass, who kind of directs them
Oh,
back
interesting.
back
Cool.
into the zone before they both head out into outer space, because they can get really like, especially Isaiah can get very like sidetracked and you know all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they are. They're magnificent to watch live. Every time I've seen them, they've been flawless. But they do fuck up and make mistakes, but you wouldn't know. They know,
Uh,
and that, you know.
when you're that good playing live, any mistake becomes an expression. You find a way to work that in,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you have to really screw the pooch for it to be noticeable, you know. And there's,
yeah.
but I feel like those guys could seamlessly play it off.
The way they kind of play, yeah. It's like a mistake is easily like, ooh, oh, look at that little improv, well, you know.
One off,
It's like, yeah, this is just for you guys type
right?
thing, you know. Yeah. Whereas, like, yeah, I guess when you guys have got certain cogs, if someone like completely blanks, it's like, oh, like it's kind of does that kind of just
Oh,
like whoop,
he
like
ran where like earlier in our career, there's a certain song we'd play, and they weren't conventional chord shapes. And if I got off, if I derailed, we just kind of look around and be like, I have no idea how we're gonna get back and find our place. And like,
yeah,
that's the most humiliating spot. You know, we'd always found our way somehow, but it was gonna, and that, it was my fault 100%. It's like,
yeah,
this can't happen anymore because that's totally embarrassing. There's no like, oh, let's meet here. It's like, I don't even know where that is. Like, I'm in a different city all of a sudden. I don't even, there's no meeting point anymore. But so
yeah.
after enough, you make enough mistakes and you learn to avoid those. But we've definitely had our moments of unforgivable situations, you know.
I kind of love I love hearing like the disaster stories, like when someone has like something go wrong, because I just think they're so funny and people don't ever talk about them.
There's
Like, and then I love a good blunder, like when and then everyone just laughs about it afterwards. But like at the time, everyone's shitting it, like you
yeah,
know.
comes to mind actually. We were playing Roadburn a number of years ago. It was in like the bigger rooms. There was a decent sized crowd and all that. And we were knee deep in tour. So the set played itself. It was just pretty, you know, easy for us to play. Just fun to sit up there and, you know, enjoy the set, you know. So we may have had a different set because of a shortened set length that night. But anyway, so we play a song of ours. I think it was Geneva. It went just
Mm.
fine. Okay, great, cool. And then like look down, next song, cool. Dave counts off the next song. I'm like, everything's feeling great. Like, nice. This is all working out. This is how we do music. This is how we sound. And then Dave kind of drops out. I'm like, huh, something's happening in the drum zone. He'll
Yep.
something must went wrong. All good. He'll figure it out. Brian dropped out too. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Wow. These guys don't do that. Interesting. Okay. And then Dave's like whap, whap, like hitting the drum kit, like getting my attention. I kind of like ease back, like what's
Yeah.
shaking? He's like,
Yeah.
we just played that song. And I was like, I go back and look at the set list, and I'm about to like say, really? He's like, yeah, we did. Like, we just played. We're currently playing it again for no good fucking reason. And I was like, perfect. Shall we play Station? And those songs have never been played back to back ever again because
Yeah.
similar guitar world. So
Oh, I'm fucking up. Yeah.
got like
That's so funny.
20 seconds, and we could have played Geneva a whole second time, and I never would have noticed. I would have been like, oh, cool, like, okay, but, you
That's
know.
different.
And I had,
Do you
like,
think anyone
I
noticed
was
in the
like
crowd?
shocked at Dave and Brian, like, dudes, why are we stopping? Like, what could it possibly be? Like, is there a fire? Like, what is it? Oh, so that's, you shouldn't be thinking on stage, but you should be at least be aware of what song you're playing, I suppose. So that's somewhere in there.
yeah. Did you reckon the crowd noticed? Just like this is an
I,
extended version of.
but all our stuff's so blaringly, they get for, who knows? I don't know. I don't really look out that much, but God, I have no, I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. At that point, I was like,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah,
play one that we haven't played yet. Quick, all right.
yeah.
I have no
So
idea.
how do you do like keep with the crowd? Are you like are you one of those people that like looks ahead, like pick a spot way above the crowd and just look at that,
I,
or when you do look up, or
I like to be honest. I just want like a Hesher in front of me. I want like a dude
yeah,
there, just like headbanging as hard as you can, and then it's like I'm gonna have a great show tonight because that dude's right there, and that
yeah, yeah,
the world. I go through phases. Sometimes like pick certain people out, like you're my rock. I want to keep looking at you, and then
yeah,
that's cool. I like making eye contact because there's some connection there.
yeah,
This
yeah,
like like your rock is like, why are you on your phone, rock? Like you don't need to be on your phone. Like
yeah, yeah. That's the worst.
they're I try not to. I don't look at the crowd too much because I disengage. To be honest, I like to just.
Yeah.
I'm grateful they're there, and hopefully they understand that.
Mm.
Um, I don't want to affect the performance. I'm not a public speaker. I don't need to be getting my point across through
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tactical things that I use, these like devices. It's to me, it's like, you know what, we're just going to do our thing up here, and afterwards we can be ourselves and gregarious and, jovial, yada
Yeah,
yada.
yeah,
When it's
yeah, yeah.
so, I'd rather people just watch us and watch us do what we do. And like, if our bandmates choose to engage with eye contact or not, that's up to them, whatever they feel most comfortable with. But I go back and forth, but I usually prefer to just like zero in. And I love a great
Mm.
crowd. Don't get me wrong. You can definitely feel if the energy's
You
there.
can feel the difference.
It
Yeah.
helps. It's way more fun because you want a connection. That's the whole point of it. So, but I don't try to let it. I don't want to see somebody who either bums me out or I get too distracted by it and like,
Yeah.
that's so such and such. Oh, okay. I think they owe me money. Yeah, that's so. Why? What gall do they have being here? I'm just better off keeping my brain out of it. So
Yeah, yeah. And like I think like the last time you were here, like I remember like the crowd was really good. Well, seemed to be when I was in the crowd. But like the like everyone just gets very engrossed in what you guys are doing as well. So I feel like it's not as, like so you can't really like it's not always eye contact you because everyone's just like and switching from person to you know what I mean? Like I find that I'll be like just staring into like oblivion of what you're doing and
I,
then I'll like look up at Dave and then be stuck staring at Dave and then
uh,
like
uh,
that kind of thing.
to be honest, one of my favorite things is seeing somebody whose eyes are closed. And
Yeah.
when I see one of my favorite bands playing or any performance that moves me, usually my eyes are closed for at least half the set, if not more. Because
Yeah.
if I'm not up front, dead center, I can get distracted by people with some like, I'll get in my own head and distracted from the show. I don't want to think about anybody else there. I just want to be there with the band and hear the band and absorb the band.
Yeah.
Not doing take after take in the studio and cobble together, but just them performing straight to us. And I have maybe I'm autistic, I don't know, but I have more of a connection. I'm just with my eyes closed, focused. So when I see somebody doing that, I can appreciate that. And it's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
definitely zeroing in.
There's definitely certain bands that I've seen where I get the like closed eye. I mean, I saw someone once. Well, there's a couple of bands I've seen where I've actually started to tear up and been like, "Oh my God, I hope no one can see."
That's great though. That's true. That's connection on its purest form. If it can move you to tears, that's great.
Mm. And you just get all like I just get all like glassy eye and like yeah, and you're like, oh, it's gonna.
Yeah. There's so many emotions and chemicals, like endorphins are released.
Yeah.
How do you snap back into reality? I just want to like, how awesome is that? I just want to tell everybody like that was like there's certain bands and certain bands elicit different feelings, whether any
Mm.
spectrum. human emotion.
Yeah, exactly. It's
But
like some different genres and
yeah, it's such a
very, very different.
where like that. I can't wait till shows are back happening again, because I think there's something about music when you hear it at home and how cool it is in your car, walking around, wherever it may be. But live performances, there's something unique and special about that is different. And I'll always enjoy that, no matter what age I am. You know, going to see a band live in their element and them calling the shots. Them, I don't know what song is next. I don't know how the PA is going to sound. I don't know what's going to go right or wrong, but
Yeah,
I'm in. Like, I can't wait. You know, even if the sound is
yeah,
like different production on different albums. Like, oh, that's how it sounds here. Okay, cool. That's not how it sounded last time, but
yeah,
your ears adjust, and you know, you can either make it a thing that's distracting, or you can just embrace it for being different. You know.
yeah, yeah. Like that's something that yeah, like live shows are something that I love so much. And I use it like more often than not, I go to shows alone because
Mhm.
I like to focus. Like, or I'll be like, oh, this person's coming, like, and I'll be like, got the ticket, I'm going to that. Like, you know, and I don't really care who else is or isn't, you know what I mean? And I'm one of those people that will like, if I really like, depending on who it is, like, because I'm so short, like when I watched you guys, I stood on like a bit further back so that I could actually see you play. But like some other bands, depending on the venue, like I'll be right up there standing next to that giant speaker, like going deaf, like
Yeah,
with no earplugs.
there's
I
something
can't wait. I can't
when,
wear earplugs.
when you're close enough. There's no. That's why like some shows I'll be just dead center, right, or in front of like my favorite member of the band. I want to hear
Remember, yeah,
my hair back. You know, I want
yeah,
to hear before it even gets mic'd through the PA. I want to hear what he's hearing on stage, or close to it, and then
yeah,
less distractions. I don't have anybody to worry about, and there's yeah, something about that. So I feel yeah.
yeah.
Earplugs.
It's like,
I need earplugs now, just because I've put my ears through.
yeah,
I do use
hell, yeah.
things
I,
go.
I had my I had my ears tested last year and I thought it was going to be so bad because I always stand next I never wear earplugs because I feel like I can't hear and I just like I can't hear properly. I got to take it out. It's like that annoying, you know, when you're watching TV and you're like, got to turn this up a bit. Turn it
Yeah,
up a bit. That's how I feel when I have earplugs in. I like to be completely blasted. It's like I'm basically on the stage. And
earplug.
so yeah,
No
but I
question.
definitely have a bit of tinnitus or something. But I I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I didn't wear earplugs live until about 4 years ago, maybe. So I
Yeah,
went a good amount of the time without them, and it takes some adjustment because it just sounds worse with earplugs. And you know, there's different
mm,
types of earplugs. Some are better than others, but yeah.
yeah,
Now, as I look out for the old boys now, where it's like, all right, I don't want to put them through hell, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
adjust to life.
Yeah, you're being good. I think I'm always going to be naughty. I don't think it's ever going to happen for me.
Yeah, you're getting by so far. You're being smart. You're getting them tested, so you're looking out. Sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, definitely. Um, so when I was gonna say, like, when did you start playing guitar and how, like, you know, what was your approach? Like, did you start off like more classical guitar? Like, because you are quite techy, you know, and you have that math kind of vibe, like, you know, it kind of, I imagine you like in school, like, like learning all these, being really into it, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I think it comes down to like not being able to focus long enough to like fully like. It's like, what if I did this? What if you know? What if I started messing with this? Or and just being uh, desperate for whatever sounds good. Like, so what if I tried doing this and that? And seeing someone doing something innovative on a guitar is always influencing. So, but for me, I was never patient enough to learn things. I was always going to write stuff, write
Yeah.
people. So like
So were
the
you
minute,
like not a music reader?
I'm sorry.
Were you a music reader or not a reader? You know how?
Not until, I mean, yes, I learned like the basic stuff and how to read. I took lessons, and but I just wanted to learn Metallica songs. I wanted to learn,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff because I didn't listen to like classical at the time. I didn't know what these and they're rudimentary versions. On
Yeah,
one,
they always make, what's the song that they always make you learn?
like "Ode to Joy" was the first song I liked. So that,
I think mine was Bad Moon Rising.
oh, that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
far.
I think that was one of the very first songs that I had to, when I was learning guitar at school. Um, yeah, it was Bad Moon Rising. And then I actually remember learning the Marilyn Manson version of Sweet Dreams.
Okay, nice. There you go. Yeah.
That was actually given to me by the teacher. But yeah, I was really bad at reading and doing like the exercises
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and things
exactly.
like that.
That can be a blessing or a curse, because if you're not doing that and you're writing, you're getting comfortable writing. So you're hopefully growing as you're using the creative part of your brain. But I feel like I did miss out on some of the rudimentary stuff as a guitarist, as far as chord structure and theory. And I've always dabbled with theory and I've learned it and forgotten it so many times. And now as an adult, I have fun doing classical stuff, but that's just, I don't know how much I apply to Russian circles, but it's just, I'm
Yeah.
about it, and I love doing that stuff. But I never took guitar that serious. I always loved it and played it a lot, but it was there for fun, not like, all right, now I'm gonna learn how to do all this crazy stuff. It was
Yeah.
from playing and playing. It was never like, here's my lesson plan, I'm gonna work on this. Like every teacher I had, I got bored with, and not to their fault, just because this is
It's
what I was.
just because it's boring. Like when you're doing it through that, it gets,
like scales. The minute I was playing to scales, I
yeah.
never got the concept right where I could work it into like a fluid manner. I was like, I'll just play by ear, and that sounds so stupid and lazy to say that, but it felt more expressive to do that. And I think there's a happy marriage of learning and going your own way. But yeah, a lot of it, by the same time, I did love learning Metallica riffs. Like so much of that comes like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay, cool. Like in Beatles, learn Beatles songs. You're like, oh, that's how. So that's what makes the verse pop out different than a chorus. I see. And that's, oh, the bridge part. Okay. So there is a certain amount of learning there, even though it's not your conventional guitar, like old world instructions. But
Learning, yeah. I felt like I learned more trying to play my favorite band songs as well than actually the proper guitar lessons. It's like you just sit and be like, oh, I used to just use like the tab and be like, yeah, just going over and over and over and over trying to play stuff.
yeah, that's I'd get so impatient back to that where I'd learn like the main riff. I'm like, oh, that's how you do it. Cool. Moving on. I would never fully like, oh, here's how the whole song goes. I just like
one certain bit
yeah, that's how you do
grabbed you.
it. Cool. It's always simpler than you think too, in a really cool way. Or there's a tiny little nuance that makes it have some swagger or swing to it, So that was cool to be like, oh, that little upbeat right there gives the song its bounce. Cool. Okay, that's cool. And like Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, that shit was so simple, but had little tricks here and there that made it unique, So, and that was good as a new guitar player to like, oh, like it's easy to do technically, but there's something to it beyond just playing the notes.
Yeah. And yeah. Were you ever like get the whammy out? I love that damn thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I used to always be like, plug it into the thing and be like, wah! I just love like making crazy noise. I was like, that's all I ever wanted to like whenever I played. Just
sure.
crazy
Like
noise.
when I had like a pointy Ibanez with like a Floyd Rose.
Yes.
And
Oh my God, yeah.
I worship Dimebag Darrell so much. And
Yeah.
all like the harmonics and all that stuff with the whammy. That is so much fun. And you don't, you can be like your parents' worst nightmare because there's hearing high frequency, the dog's howling for its life, But
yeah. I remember the first time I like played the whammy like in an amp like crazy. I was like, and the first guitar I broke because I was going, I was like whamming, and I just went, and the thing broke, and I was like, oops. I was like, oh no, I have to get this fixed or else because they're not going to buy me another guitar. I was like, oh no. But Yeah, I love that side of it, like that, all like the cock rock metal, like stuff.
Yeah, because I just came up on guitar on the heels of that. Like I
Yeah.
started like in the early '90s, and so Nirvana like was just coming out, but like
Hmm.
I still wanted to learn like AC/DC songs and like the
Yeah.
rock stuff.
Yeah.
And so there was leftover hair metal happening. And so
Yeah.
like before I could play guitar, I listened to like of course Van Halen and all that, and that was just like he changed the rules with whammy bar use. So the
Yeah. Yeah.
out of Floyd Rose, it was like, oh my, I can finally do it. Like here's the chords, now I can just do this crap forever.
Yeah. I always wanted to do like Angus Young and like run along.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
But like his brother, like, who played second guitar, actually had like the harder stuff, like he was like, doing all the in between, it was like Angus was doing all that, like, well, Angus is still alive, obviously, but he was doing all the heavy riffage and all that, and then his brother was, in the back, the quiet guy with the, his head down, doing
yeah.
all the technical bits, like in la la la, in the background. And I remember watching it, like a interview where Angus was saying, like, that his brother was like so integral to the band because he was doing all of those like little bits, which allowed Angus to just do all the fun stuff. So
Yeah,
he
Angus.
and that and he
Oh,
just didn't like being like, he was just like, math guitar, like, so he just wanted to be as far away from the crowd as humanly
totally.
possible, and like looking down and just and let Angus be the shine, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian at one point mentioned, and this was a quote from a friend of ours, a friend of his, but most metal bands have a workhorse and a show pony.
Hmm.
So there's
Yeah.
someone like just not in it for the glitz and the glamour. They're not looking for like to get the crowd all razzled and
Yeah.
down on a track, in front of the crowd and 80s heyday. But there's some like Malcolm was a workhorse who just got like made this
Yeah.
up, and not to call it Angus a show pony,
Yeah. But he was very much the visual,
productive.
like, component to the band.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I think, well, him and Bon Scott, like, were like, in terms of guitar, he was the guy, that was, everyone was watching, and Malcolm was kind of quiet, and yeah, in the back. But yeah, totally love that stuff because it's like, I'm Australian and my dad's a bogan. He looked like someone from AC/DC. So I was
Nope.
like listening to that from birth,
Oh,
I think.
no one, like, until you get to Australia, you don't realize how important AC/DC is. They're important everywhere. They're massive
Yeah.
rock beyond. But when you get to Australia, it's like, oh, they are the Beatles and the Stones wrapped into one. They're everything.
Yeah.
Not in an unfair way. It was really cool to see how much you guys own them and love them. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's everybody, all walks of life, all genres seem to acknowledge, like, oh yeah, those are the dudes. Those guys made it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, I was gonna say, have you ever heard the Easy Beats? Friday on My Mind. You ever
I'm not,
heard that? You should look it up. Look up the Easy Beats when you get a chance.
okay.
That's Malcolm and Angus's older brother,
Oh, okay.
and so they were like 60s, like, kind of Stones, Beatles, fast-ish,
Okay, cool.
and they had some badass, like, cool songs. Totally not AC/DC, but it's like really cool when you put the connection together. And so he used to help the two learn,
Wow.
like, as well. So even though he played a totally different genre, technically, they got, like, as when they were growing up, they would all, together. It's really cool. But yeah, they were like a really, like, what do you call it? Like, really famous, like, I think it was 60s band. So yeah. Oh, I'll send you. I'll just send
Yeah,
it to
yeah.
you afterwards. Send you
Amazing.
some songs.
Music moves so quickly back then. Like 68 to 74 or 68 to 70, music completely transformed, and like every decade meant so much, whereas now things happen and change. But back then, like
It was
one
like a
brother can
revolutionary
genre a
change
different
for
generation almost than the younger brother, and now it's like everything's kind of out there. But that was a really exciting time for rock music back then.
Oh yeah, because it was just constantly changing and like morphing, and and then you had like blues and jazz and then like Detroit kind of that guitar sound, and then everything coming in like so it's just there's a lot going on guitar wise, especially. And I was gonna say like it must be like really, I guess, liberating and free to be able to be on a label like Sgt House. I know like Kathy is such a like I really admire her a lot. Like, and I mean, her roster of artists is you know next level. Like, you know, and like and there seems to be like a real embrace there of like whatever the artist kind of wants to do, she's behind you, and like that kind of thing. And like where you have like the amazing like the family where you go and like practice and jam and all that kind of thing. Like is it different to other labels that you were working with prior?
We've always operated with independent labels. Most of
Yeah.
our peers have, so no one's ever been like, you can't do that, or where's the hit. But it's more so how Kathy operates, as far as she's ever signed an artist thinking like this is gonna this is gonna be a cash cow or something like that. There's no like
Yeah.
next big thing. She'll sign an artist and she'll want to help them succeed because she sees something in them that's special and unique unto themselves. But it's so, we've worked with other labels that are, they all have good intentions, but something about Sgt House is unique, where it's just, she helps whatever you're doing, she wants you to just blow it, like do more of that and be yourself. And she doesn't sign bands that sound like other bands. Like she only has type of, like if someone sounds too close to another band she has, she'll say, I already have that band, so I don't need to do something in that wheelhouse. But she's help arm that band with as much as she can to make them do what they do. And we've seen it happen so many times with different artists on Sgt House, where she has the means to do it, where it takes some luck and some bands it doesn't work for as the way that it should for them for no good reason, but fosters a environment where everybody has the same treatment and everybody gets pushed, the same amount. Pushed isn't the right word, but embraced and encouraged, and very free, like family of bands, where it's like, do whatever you want, go for it. And she's great. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I have nothing but good things to say about Kathy and the label.
Yeah.
It's been fun. We've been with them for a while with Sgt House. It's been fun to see the roster grow and get more diverse, and that's what you want. It's like, it just opens the possibilities. The more diverse bands you have, you're just laying a long-term good foundation for yourselves, for like the label, where it's like nothing's going to be a total left turn or out of what's like that. What are they doing? It's like, oh, cool. Like,
You're not boxing yourself in to
yeah,
like,
exactly.
this
like,
is what we're
like they're not dating themselves with any type of genre. Independent music will always be relevant, and they're definitely an independent label, and that's other than that, how do you categorize? They have all kinds of music on Sgt House, so I'm proud to be a part of it, mainly, or not mainly, but one of the reasons is for the diversity, and because it encourages anything that she believes in, she'll help out, and there's something really honest about that I appreciate.
Because there's such a diverse range, and but everyone's like really good or like specific or niche at what they do. So it's not like you're not being overexposed to just the same things,
Like some like for example, metal bands, they'll sign a ton, or metal labels, they'll sign a ton of bands and hope one's gonna like take off. And it's like, that's not, I don't know, that seems super major label-ish to me, where it's like,
it's like, let's just get like this whole stable of the same.
Unique, and they have a thing going on for them, and help foster their environment as much as you can and give them an opportunity, and don't just drop them like a bad habit if it doesn't work out. That doesn't feel like truly living up to the like independent world that most of us come from, you know. So yeah, she's totally avoided that. You know, it's never felt like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're getting the little warning saying that we're going to cut out. So I'll hang up and I'll just call you back for part two.
Okay, cool. Part two. All right.
Cool. Alrighty.
All right. Sounds
Bye.
good. Bye.